chapter 21, and this is by our Indian Pakistani style para number 21, the Juz 21st. Let me just tabarukan recite some ayat and then we go to the أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم هدى ورحمة للمحسنين الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون ومن الناس من يشتري لهو الحديث ليضل عن سبيل الله بغير علم ويتخذها هزوا أولئك لهم عذاب مهين وإذا تتلى عليه آياتنا ولى مستكبرا كأن لم يسمعها كأن في أذنيه وقرا فبشره بعذاب أليم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات النعيم خالدين فيها وعد الله حقا وهو العزيز الحكيم خلق السماوات بغير عمد ترونها وألقى في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بكم وبث فيها من كل دابة وأنزلنا من السماء ماء فأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج كريم هذا خلق الله فأروني ماذا خلق الذين من دونه بل الظالمون في ضلال مبين ولقد آتينا لقمان الحكمة أن اشكر لله ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير وإن جاهداك على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا واتبع سبيل من أناب إلي ثم إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا بني إنها إن تكن مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, welcome and Khosh Amadi, Ahlan wa Sahlan in this series of lectures organized by AmeerMukhtarFaezi, MASOM and Seminary in combination. Most of the work, as you have seen and as you are seeing, has been done by the volunteers of AmeerMukhtarFaezi. The management of MASOM has also graciously cooperated for holding these programs, and you brothers and sisters have also made a special effort to come a long way and spend your time here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all who have worked for these sessions and those who have organized and those who have put their time and effort and those who are attending these sessions. This is the first session of the series of 9 sessions. And the idea behind these sessions is to provide education and proper information to our community, to educate our families about Deen and how to raise their children and how to upbring their new generations. In these series of lectures, because this is the first session, I have to familiarize you with the format, and then inshallah from there you will know everything. We will have a lecture on Tafsir al-Quran. We have selected Surah Luqman for that purpose. Surah Luqman again has 34 ayat, but we will be discussing only from ayat number 12 to ayat number 19, known as second ruku of this surah. Altogether 8 ayat, and then we will start Surah Al-Furqan, and we will discuss the 15 ayat from ayat number 63 to 77. We have taken this surah and these ayat keeping this fact in mind that there are certain ayat in Quran which help an individual to grow as individual. These ayat or these surahs are helping individual in his individual capacity. Then there are ayat which help a family to grow in Quranic manner, under Quranic light as a family. Then there are ayat which are helping the community and ummah how to grow and how to get better and how to organize your life as a community and as ummah. So as first step, we have selected ayat which are focused on individual, because that's how we begin. And this is the proper way of building the blocks, to begin with individual, then reach to the family, and then from families we reach to the community and to the ummah. It's a gradual, natural and more logical order. To familiarize you with Surah Luqman, this surah was revealed in Makkah, and it is called Luqman because in second ruku, as you have seen, Hazrat Luqman is mentioned as a father who is advising his son, giving him some instructions. So because of that, this surah is named Surah Luqman. Luqman was a prophet, a messenger, or just a scholar? These are the questions discussed in the books of tafsir. The bottom line is that our ulama believe that he was not a prophet, he was not a messenger, he was a hakim, a scholar, a wise man. Hakim in the meaning of a man who was given wisdom. It is mentioned in our books that at one noon or afternoon he was taking his nap and he heard a voice. O Luqman, do you wish your Lord appoints you as his Khalifa, as his Caliph on the earth, where you decide among people with haqq, with truth, and judge them or not? Do you want Khilafat fil Ars, and particularly the Hakimiyyat fil Ars, position to judge people? It is mentioned in our books of Hadith and Tafsir, Hazrat Luqman said, if I have option, I will say no, thank you. I don't need that position. If my God wants to appoint me as Khalifa and as a Hakim and as judge, and I have no option, then I will take it. But if God gives me option, I will say no, thank you, give it to somebody else. And then Luqman says, because that is the most difficult thing, to be a judge and decide among people with haqq and insaf. And with option and with ikhtiyar, I would not take that burden on my weak shoulders. So when he denied this position, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded him with wisdom instead of khilafat. So he was given hikmat instead of khilafat. He was contemporary of Hazrat Dawood. He was at the same time and at the same location where Hazrat Dawood was. There are certain meetings and interactions recorded in the history between Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Luqman.
he was extremely wise man. That's why even Quran is quoting him. One has to be extremely wise. That Quran even brings his sayings to his son as quotation in Quran. Before we go to the discussion, to tell you the caliber of Luqman, here are one or two things which we have in ahadith. I read for you and then go forward. It is narrated in Majmu' al-Bayan, in Tafsir Majmu' al-Bayan, and certain other books of hadith and akhlaq and tafsir, that when Hazrat Luqman, by the way, in beginning he was a citizen of Egypt or Sudan, and he was black, and he was a slave. He didn't come from very elite and very rich and very educated family. He came from Egypt or Sudan. He was black, and he was first a slave. Then he was given the freedom. Later on, he earned his freedom. When he was a slave, his master asked him, "O Luqman, go and slaughter a sheep. Slaughter a sheep and bring two of its best organs to me." Luqman goes and slaughters the sheep and then gets two best organs of the sheep. It's not chicken, which is easy to guess. You are familiar with that joke of chicken and fish. Hadrat Luqman brings the heart and the tongue of that sheep to the master. Riwayat says that after some time, master again asked the Luqman, "Go and slaughter another sheep and bring me the two worst organs of the sheep." And he brings again the same two, heart and the tongue. Owner, master looks at him, "Luqman, when I asked you bring the best organs of the sheep, you brought the heart and the tongue. And when I asked you to bring the worst, you bring the heart and the tongue." And Luqman said, "Matter of fact, if these two organs are kept in the right condition, pure and clean, they are the best organs. But if one pollutes them and puts them and corrupts them, then these are the two worst organs of any being." That was the message of wisdom. That shows that keeping your heart and your tongue clean, how important that is. Then there is a riwayat from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, where he says, he talks about Luqman, and he has mentioned about 12 features or 12 characteristics of Luqman. Meaning, if you want to describe Luqman, wise man, quoted in Quran, what were the characteristics of his life? Imam says, first of all, he was very strong and committed in fulfilling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands and doing his duties. He was a man that was always able to carry on the tasks given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He never felt short, he never felt weak. Whatever duties he had, he carried them very properly. The second feature or characteristic of Luqman was that whenever he would see that there is something which is kind of what you call fishy or something which is mashkook, he would avoid from that. He would not avoid only from the sins, but he would avoid from the things which have probability of sin also. From shak and shubha, things which are, meaning one only thinks that it might be haram, he would avoid from that. Third characteristic of Luqman was that he would most of the time observe silence. And this is a very major and common characteristic among all the wise people of the world, that most of the time they are silent. They are not very talkative people. People who are always engaged in the talk and talk and talk and talk, they don't have any time to think. They don't have time to analyze. They don't have time to read. They don't have time to do anything else. Their all attention and energies are spent on talking. But if people who keep silent, they think and they analyze. And Hazrat Luqman was one of them. Fourth, he would spend a good amount of time in thinking and reflecting. Fikr, tafakkur, ghawr fikr. Fifth, he was a man who would get up early in the morning. He was what you call early bird. Somebody that who would get up early in the morning and then he would not sleep again in the morning. Sixth, he was very humble. He never would put the what you call this pillows or pushti or something behind his back and then extend his legs while he was sitting among the people. That was a kind of a thing which only the arrogant people normally, either the arrogance, either the totally rude people, they don't have any, they are not well mannered. They are the people that who can extend legs among the public when they are sitting in front of guest or their own relative or whatever. He would always sit down, and that is what we read about the Prophet also, that he never extend his legs while he was sitting among the people, no matter for hours and hours if he was sitting, but he was always sitting very carefully, that ba adab and ba ihtiram. Keep again the time, meaning some of these things might look not a big deal in these times, modern times, when world is civilized, but the time of Hazrat Luqman, he never spit it out in any public area or nobody noticed him doing that, which is very common if you look, even if you today you go to underdeveloped countries and look here, right and left, everybody is just as they don't have anything else to do except spitting around. One of my friends came from Iran and he saw all these spits of pan and he got worried. He thought that this is all in blood. What's going on here? So we told him that no, it's not that kind of dangerous, but this is how we are. So Hazrat Luqman never did that. And from here you can understand how clean and neat, how gentleman he was. Then next characteristic Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam, whenever he would see anybody, whenever people would fight, have quarrel among themselves, problem, Luqman would go and make peace among them. He would do Islah among the people and make them again brothers and good brothers. Tenth and the ninth was that whenever Hazrat Luqman would listen any good thing from any person, he would always ask the reference and he would ask some more detail and then he would write it down. We're talking about Hazrat Luqman of that time. And this makes people wiser, that when they get the information, when they listen, somebody gives them information, they always ask for reference. And my brothers and sisters, that is very important. If we can just get that habit as a community, that whenever somebody tells you something, if very frankly you can always ask, what is your reference? And then go and check in libraries and books and here and there. It will be in the best interest of everybody in the community. It's a new habit, or it might be little difficult for some of us to tolerate. We as parents don't feel very comfortable when our children ask us why every time for everything. And similarly, as husbands, we don't like to get arguments from our wives or wives, vice versa, or any person who is considered superior in community doesn't like to be asked, doesn't like to be questioned for references or those sort of things. But that's our culture is. But if we want to upgrade our culture, ourselves, and if we want to get better, if we want to get improved, the way is this. That whenever somebody tells you something, ask for reference. This is your right. This is your right. You have drove for 1 hour at least and came to the center and sitting here in front of me and listening, and I'm taking all your time. And then you listen to everything and don't ask that what is your reference. And then you don't bother to go and check. Then I will get habit of coming unprepared and will start saying whatever I want to say. And then it will ruin everything. So it is in the best interest of whole community. And this was so important that our sixth Imam is noticing that and bringing that on the record for Luqman, which makes Luqman wise. Then Imam says Luqman had habit of keeping company with ulama, with fuqaha, with scholars, with learned people, and he would go and visit them and sit with them and talk to them. 11th, he would always learn. He would always learn the kind of things which would help him to grow and to get better and to get advanced. There is a hadith from Imam AmeerMukhtarFaezi Ali ibn Abi Talib. He says, knowledge and information is into the extent which if you apply all of your life, you cannot take it all. You cannot take all the knowledge and information, whatever is available over there. But it is up to you to be selective, to just take what helps you to grow, what helps you to move forward, what helps you to advance, what helps you to become better. So that is the kind of knowledge and information which you have to learn. Otherwise, one person can keep learning for all of his life, but the kind of things which are not helpful at all to him, to his family, or to his community. And that word is very important to our youth. That sometime I listen that when they are going to college and university, they end up by taking certain topics and areas of studies that nobody knows that after getting degree or diploma in that particular area, really what are they going to do with that? Is it going to help them as individual, or is it going to help their family or community or anybody? Or it is just getting a degree and diploma and it's just I like it and I want to do it. So, knowledge, information is very good, very important, but be selective. When you select, make the best selection. And the 12th one is that, which is again very important, he would not talk about anything which didn't have any relevance to him. He would not enter to any discussion or any argument or any business which was not his business, basically. He was very focused and to the point individual, and this is again the area of emphasis in hadith, that one should not get into the businesses which are not his business, because that is all wasting of your time and your energies, and eventually you will regret. This was and Imam says, because of these characteristics, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him wisdom and gave him hikmat and made him hakim. Allah could give this to anybody, but Allah doesn't just throw like that, randomly. Allah sees who deserves that. So when people have certain characteristics and they accomplish certain goals and reach to certain level, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards them with these positions like hikmat or wisdom or what we are talking about. So this was just to give you some background with this great man, Luqman, that who has given advice to his son, which again is setting a tradition that every father should feel responsibility of giving such advices to his son and his children. Every father gives some advice to his children for business and for worldly things, but which is fine. Father has responsibility to train his son and to give him all that background, but father has responsibility to teach these sort of things to his sons and his daughters and his family also. And we will have a great discussion about that, and where we will talk about what the different Anbiya have done in this area, and the last prophet, and particularly AmeerMukhtarFaezi Ali ibn Abi Talib. In Nahjul Balagha, he has a whole lengthy wasiyah for Imam Hassan Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam, and for his other sons, and we will talk about that. But no, when we look at the surah, if we go to do the tafsir of all these 34 ayat, you know, in the beginning is al-huruf al-muqatta'at, alif, lam, mim. And just we can have a long, lengthy discussion about al-huruf al-muqatta'at. And we can carry on that for 9 sessions. And we will have enough material to just talk about al-huruf al-muqatta'at for 9 weeks. It's not a big deal. But to keep the time limit and everything in focus, I have decided to not talk about the other areas of the surah. As we said, we are taking only the second ruku from ayat number from ayat number 12 to ayat number 19. These are the ayat which we are going to discuss. Now if you have copy of Quran, look on ayat number 12. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِلَّهِ وَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. And certainly we gave wisdom to Luqman, saying, be grateful to Allah. And whoever is grateful, he is only grateful for his own soul. And whoever is ungrateful, then surely Allah is self-sufficient, praised. That's how it works. Here Allah says that He has given hikmah to Luqman and asking him to be grateful. And when Allah asked to be grateful, the next portion of ayat clarifies that this was not something which would help Allah. Allah says, وَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. Anybody who pays thanks, that is for his own benefit. Never think, इसकी आवाज कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं है? Never think that your tasbih and your hamd and your prayers and your praise or shukr is going to increase anything for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all in your own benefit. And this ayat is talking about next ayat, ayat number 13. وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانَ لِإِبْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. When Luqman said to his son, while he admonished him, father is admonishing his son, from where he starts, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah. Oh my son, never associate anybody with Allah. La tushrik billah. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. This shirk, associating anybody with Allah, is dhulm azim. Because we have normally, as a born Muslim society, we have discussed a lot about Tawheed and Shirk and all that, so at this particular time I will not go into the details of this ayat. Our focus is on ayat number 14 today in this session. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ إِلَيَّ الْمَصِيرُ. Ayat number 14. And we have enjoined man in respect of his parents. His mother bears him with fainting upon fainting, and his weaning takes 2 years, saying, be grateful to me and both of your parents. To me is the eventual coming. That is ayat number 14. And my brothers and sisters, this is very important message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enjoined us to be good and respectful to our parents. And this message, what we see here, is not only here in Surah Luqman. You have copy of Quran in your hand, and if you want to take the reference, I will read these references for you. Open the Quran and you will find this ayat over there. First of all, look in chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat number 83. Ayat 83. And if you have the copies of Quran, then it helps that we don't have to read the whole thing. If we don't have enough copies of Quran next time,
We have, if anybody needs
so
it.
that would be helpful. Ayat number 83. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ لَا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And when we made a covenant with the children of Israel, you shall not serve any but Allah, and you shall do good to your parents. Just after serving Allah, it comes to do good to your parents. And then of course, وَذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ ثُمَّ تَوَلَّيْتُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. Ayat was talking that this is what we had advised to these Jews, Bani Israel. It's not a new thing. It was part of every Sharia, in every regulation. So take that as a reference. In these classes, we will be giving you sometime very quick references and we have to move forward. Then I will expect everybody that when you go back, then you open Quran and look into these references and get more and more your own knowledge. Ayat number, the Surah 4, Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, ayat 36. Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, ayat 36. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And serve Allah and do not associate anything with Him, and be good to the parents. And again, وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى, parents to begin with, and then your relatives, orphans, needies, relatives, that all is included in this. This is Surah An-Nisa, ayat 36. Look now in chapter 6, Surah Al-An'am, and ayat 151. Ayat 151 and page 133. Found that? قُلْ تَعَالَوْا أَتْلُ مَا حَرَّمَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ. And the whole ayat goes on, but the emphasis is on ihsan bil walidain. Next reference is chapter 17, Surah Al-Isra, and ayat 23rd and 24th. Ayat 23rd and 24th. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And your Lord has commanded that you shall not serve any but Him, and goodness to your parents. And also then it goes on, if either or both of them reach old age with you, say not to them so much as uff, nor chide them, and speak to them a generous word. Next ayat, and make yourself submissively gentle to them with compassion, and say, O my Lord, have compassion on them as they brought me up when I was little. Now, next reference is chapter 29, Surah Al-Ankabut, ayat number 8. Ayat number 8. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. And we have enjoined on man goodness to his parents, and if they contend with you that you should associate others with me of which you have no knowledge, do not obey them. That is Surah Al-Ankabut, and which is now telling us some limits also. That we are always telling you, listen to your parents and be nice to them and be kind to them. But when they ask you to do something which is wrong, then of course you are not supposed to. And that tells us that if we cannot obey our parents, which Allah is talking that great about them, then how come we can obey anybody else in wrong things and then later on make the excuse? So we should be the people that will always know our limits and other limits. Normally the problem begins when we forget the limits and then we get into the trouble. Next reference is the same, Surah Luqman, ayat 14, which we were discussing. The last reference on the subject is from chapter 46, Surah Ahqaf, ayat number 15. Surah Ahqaf, chapter 46, ayat 15. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. Look at the translation. This is how one has to be. And take this ayat as particular reference when you go back, look in chapter 46, Surah Al-Ahqaf, ayat number 15. Now, the interesting thing which you might have noticed that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at least in these two places, in beginning he spoke about parents together, but then he moved to the discussion talking about the great difficulties of our mothers. This ayat is also one of them. حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا. Yani, you have to be responsible and kind and good to both of your parents. But realize your mother has taken more pains and more difficulties and has gone through more hardships for you. When she was pregnant, fainting after fainting, fainting upon fainting, this is what Quran uses the word. Wahnan ala wahn. And here Quran says, Hamalat ummu kurhan wa wada'athu kurhan. With trouble did his mother bear him, and with trouble did she bring him forth. This is what Quran says. So, here we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more bringing mother in the picture than the father. That's why the hadith. When a man came to Prophet, to whom I should do good? To your mother. And then to your mother. And then to your mother. And then to your father. That makes the difference. Because mother has gone through more difficulties and more pains and more hardships. So these are 4 references which I gave you from Quran, emphasizing the same thing, that how important it is to be good with your parents, and that is how the human society begins and evolves from there. We are not going to say anything further at this particular time, just asking you that when you go back, look at these ayat, read, try to take your notes, get habit of making your own notes, organizing your own notes, because eventually you have to help your sons and your daughters. Don't only expect that everything will be taught at the masjid or at the center or at the Sunday school. Sunday schools or masjid or imambara or ulama or community will do their best, but they are not enough. We have to do these things at home and make sure that everything is taught properly. So have notes and then go through them and take care of them properly. So this was just the first session we begin with. So we will focus on this ayat number 14 and we stop here with these references. We will open for question and answers. Then this question answer is for 15 minutes. Then there is break for 15 minutes. And then there is a session for 40 minutes where we will talk about family ethics in Islam and also an introduction today about Hajj and Umrah. But we open it for the question answer on this what we have said. Those who have questions, they can raise their hands and we will try to deal.
Uthman was a slave. How come that he was accepted in the allied society of that time? Secondly, was he having a mentor or was he getting all the wisdom from God directly?
When Hazrat Sulaiman, the question was, I don't know if everybody heard that.
Repeat the question because
yeah.
the ladies can.
Because we had said Hazrat Luqman was a slave originally. If he was a slave, then how he got accepted in elite circles, being with that background. And the other thing was that whatever he had got, this wisdom, whether he had any mentor for him or he got everything directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Answer to that is that yes, originally he was a slave and he earned his freedom during the course later on, but history doesn't show that he was accepted by all in his time, but he made his place and his standing over the time in the society based on his wisdom and based on his contributions what he made in the society. So, and it was true with every great figure, with every prophet and with every leader, that nobody accepted him at the beginning, particularly if you are not coming from that background. But those things are only for some time in the beginning. But when if you are persistent and if you are consistent and if you have character and if you have wisdom and if you are doing what you are supposed to do, you overcome on those stereotypes and on those issues of class and society or whatever. And when it comes to his mentor, we have only in the history his encounters with Hazrat Dawood as the greatest man of his time. Nobody else, at least I have seen in my own studies. But again, he used his aql and his common sense and his whatever Allah has given to every human being to some extent, and then comes Allah's mercy and Allah's rewards. Allah then takes the hand of anybody, and this is what is in Surah Al-Ankabut, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. When people struggle in our way, then it is our responsibility to show them our way. So if somebody, you don't have to be a wali in the beginning to begin with. You don't have to be a hakim to begin with. You don't have to be a man of that high caliber to begin with. You begin with at your own level. The only thing what you need to do is follow the common sense, follow what your heart and your mind are telling you that what is right, and avoid from what is, you know that it is wrong. Keep your consciousness alive and remain consistent and remain persistent. If you keep doing that, this is Allah's promise that He opens the way and He provides you either mentors, teachers, companions, or He puts that in your heart by ilham. And this is what we have hadith from Holy Prophet and Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, that if anybody man akhlasa lillahi arba'ina sabaha, anybody who sincerely gets up early in the morning and prays the morning prayer with full sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then keeps that sincerity consecutively for 40 days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the fountains of wisdom flow on his tongue. This is what we have hadith. This is one simple remedy. But one has to determine that he is going to be sincere, mukhlisan lillah, and then not only for one day but for 40 days, and keep that spirit and keep that sincerity. This is promised, and this is hadith and sahih hadith. Allah makes the fountains of wisdom to flow on your tongue. And Ayatollah Hasan Zadeh Amuli, he writes in his book that if people, there are some people, he quotes them, that they started, but they themselves realized that they couldn't maintain the same spirit. They got something, but then they started another arba'in. This is what we call chilla. Chilla comes from chehel. Chehel is 40. So 40 days is called chilla. So 40 days, arba'in, 40 days, 40 days, 40 days. And he says, I know someone in history who did 40 chillas. 40s with that kind of understanding. But yes, this is how a person gets. This is Allah's promise. He says, if you are a true seeker, I am always there to provide you with the means. This is what Allah has taken the responsibility.
Is there any speculation as to why Allah gave him the choice? And secondly, is there a lesson to be learned from his decision to not take that path?
Yeah. Actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he says, Inna Allah latifun bil ibad. He is latif in the sense he favors his people, and sometimes based on their backgrounds, knowing some of the shortcomings or weaknesses or whatever, so instead of putting them into the difficulty, he gives them the option. So Hazrat Luqman was given this option, and there is one narration also that it was in the best actually interest of Luqman to deny this offer of khilafat, which was too difficult job, and in his own time Hazrat Dawood was doing, and this was something which Hazrat Luqman was not able to do that. But Luqman said though in whole hadith that I am sure that if Allah will give me the khilafat, He will help me, He will support me, and He will keep me from making the wrong decisions. But if I have the option, then I will turn it off. Now, what lesson what we can learn is that actually, unless it is a wajib aini, there are two things in Sharia what we have, wajib aini and wajib kafai. Wajib kafai is that if you know there is someone who is sufficient to do this job and is able to take care of this thing for whole community, and he is better than you and he is more able than you, then the best thing is to just let him to do this job and you withdraw. And you say, sir, I will pass. If there is somebody who can do this better for you, and there is available, this is wajib kafai. Wajib aini is a situation where first of all, there is nobody available, you are the only qualified person who had to do the job, or there is a need for 10 people or 15 or 20 or 100 and there are only 10, 15 vacancies and there are only 10, 15 available people, then it becomes incumbent on you. So what we learn from the example of Hazrat Luqman, that if it is option and there are better people like Hazrat Dawood available in the society who can do this job better than you, then always pass the bucket to them. Let them do this. And you just remain on the back seat. But if you feel that there is nobody, you have to come forward and do this, and you are qualified for this, then you should take it. So we are not supposed to go to any extreme. Always say no, even when we know that there is a job to be done, and I am the only one who can do it. Then you don't have to be humble, and then you don't withdraw. But yes. Any more questions?
Maybe I missed the earlier part. Some time frame of Ibn Luqman.
He was contemporary of Hazrat Dawood. So if you have no more questions, we have a break for 15 minutes. Pardon with this today because it was first session. Brothers have really done their best and sisters. Next time, inshallah, they will put more chairs. And do come back. It's the first session. Always there is some struggle of setting the format and realizing the levels of the participants. Next time we will give you the handout also, as we were used to give in College of DuPage. So we'll give you the handout, and everything will be inshallah much better. But this is just the beginning, and after this break, inshallah. Yeah, you make the announcement, and then if there is a
First of all, I apologize to my sister because this crowd is beyond my imagination. We were not expecting, that many people. So next Saturday, we're gonna have for sure the enough seats in that room to fill, and everybody should have a seating arrangement. Now, just as a service recovery, I want to.
قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقان الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فبما رحمة من الله لنت لهم ولو كنت فظا غليظ القلب لانفضوا من حولك فاعف عنهم واستغفر لهم وجاورهم في الأمر فإذا عزمت فتوكل على الله إن الله يحب المتوكلين صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, welcome back. I hope that you had a good break and we don't have much time left. Before I start, I should announce that next time we will start the session 6 p.m. sharp and finish by 8 p.m. And we had started the session about 20 minutes late, and this break also got a little longer. It was first session, but next time, as the brothers are promising that they will have better seating arrangements, and inshallah you will be able to participate in this session much better. And on my behalf also, I'm pledging that inshallah next time when you will come, I will give you the handout about the class as we were used to give in College of DuPage, and we will manage the time schedule also. But today I have no other choice but to only summarize it and give you only the headline or the gist, the introduction of the topic, and then inshallah next time we go in the details. In this class, our topic is family ethics in Islam. And my brothers and sisters, you all know better than me that Islam emphasizes on ethics more than any other religion, and Islam is very crystal clear and very specific on this issue. Family is very important unit in society. In Surah Luqman, we focused on individual. That first we have to build the individual, we have to work on individual, we have to grow as individual, and then of course the second stage is family. But family is also a very important unit in Islam. We cannot think of a proper society without having the proper family or family values. In order to have that kind of perfect society, we must have proper families. And for families, we must have individuals. So this is how it goes. If you can recite one salawat. आवाज ठीक तो है?
थोड़ी
ठीक हो जी?
लेडीज आई
अच्छा,
थिंक
उधर नहीं पहुंच। अब तो पहुंच। ठीक है।
echoes.
Turn it down. Turn it down.
जी,
That's better.
आवाज आ रही है?
Yes. Very good. That's better.
शुक्रिया। To just establish the foundation, I will read some ahadith of Holy Prophet. See how important is akhlaq, ethics, and the manners. Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, al-khuluq wi'a'ud-din. Wi'a' in Arabic is pot, utensil in which you carry something, the substance, the container. So Prophet says that ethics are the container of your deen. If you don't have ethics, you don't have even a container in which you are going to put your deen. It is a container, it is a wa'a, it is a pot, utensil. Then he says, Al-Islam husnul khuluq. Islam is name of akhlaq hasana. The good character or good akhlaq is equivalent or is other name of Islam. Basically, Islam and husnul khuluq are same and one thing. They are all equivalent. Al-Islam, husnul khuluq. Then Prophet says, Inna ahabbakum ilayya wa aqrabakum minni yawm al-qiyamati majlisan ahsanukum khuluqan wa ashaddukum tawadu'an. The most beloved one among you to me at the day of judgment, and the most closer one from you to me in sitting at the day of judgment will be the person ahsanukum khuluqan wa ashaddukum tawadu'an. The best one in ethics and the most humble one would be the person who will be sitting next to me at the day of judgment. If you want to sit with VIPs at the day of judgment, the secret is be humble. Most humble and most ethical person will be given this position to sit with the Prophet. A very interesting hadith, it is mentioned from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, Ja'a rajulun ila Rasulillah. A man came to the Prophet with a question. And he said, min bayni yadayhi, from the front side, he came from front. Faqala, he said, Ya Rasulallah, mad deen. What is deen? Can you define deen to me? That was the question. Asked from Faqala, husnul khuluq. Deen is husnul khuluq. If you ask anybody like me from Maulana, you will have a whole detailed, lengthy lecture and so many detailed explanations. But here is the Prophet. Prophets, their job is to say things very simply. Philosophers have made things very complicated later on. But Prophet's job was to say things in a very simple manner. Mad deen, what is deen? Prophet is husnul khuluq. Husn akhlaq is deen. Person was kind of, he thought maybe Prophet didn't listen properly, or Prophet didn't pay much attention to me. Thumma atahu min yamini. He went around and then he came from the right side. And faqala ya Rasulallah mad deen. He posed the same question to Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, can you define me? Can you define what is deen? فقال حسن الخلق. ثم أتاه من شماله. Then he comes from the left side. It is just like as he listens and then he goes by and just makes an excuse and then he comes back from the other side and asks the same question. Ya Rasulallah mad deen. What is deen? فقال حسن الخلق. I told you, حسن الخلق. ثم أتاه من ورائه. Then this man comes from the back side. فقال ما الدين? فالتفت إليه. Prophet turned to him. فالتفت إليه. وقال أما تفقه? Don't you understand what I have said to you? هو أن لا تغضب. This is a different word, but saying same thing. هو أن لا تغضب. That don't get mad at anybody. Don't lose your temper. Be a man of character. This is what I meant when I told you ad-deen husnul khuluq. So my brothers and sisters, deen in its spirit is niceness and goodness and kindness. I was telling one of the sisters yesterday who came with some questions to me that look in Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put this verse Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim in the beginning of every surah except Surah Tawbah. Everything is in the name of God. Of course Allah is saying Bismillah in the name of God, but then from 99 names which we call Asma is Sifat, is adjectives, is attributes. From 99 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah has selected only two to put in Bismillah. And these two are Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. And if you look in depth, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, they are only two different forms, but their root word and their meaning is basically the same. Is Rahman. Yani, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts every chapter of Quran by telling us that in the name of God, in the name of Allah, who is most merciful, kind, beneficent, what do you call it? Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Yani Rahmat. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could select one or two different attributes from all those attributes, have variety in Bismillah here and there in different surahs in different ways. But it tells that something which Allah is introducing Himself as Rahman and Rahim. The focus is on Rahman. That is Deen. Deen is name of kindness. That is the name of forgiveness. And that is the spirit of Deen. Husnul Khuluq. A man of Deen is supposed to be a man, as AmeerMukhtarFaezi says it is in Nahjul Balagha. Al-Mu'min bishruhu fi wajhihi wa huznuhu fi qalbihi. Always a smiling face. That is, we have in Nahjul Balagha from centuries. We didn't have to learn how to smile when we come to this country. Smile. Our Prophet was always smiling, and that is how our Aima were. And we will have here ahadith where Imam says that actually it is a defect for someone. जैसे हम कहते हैं रोती शक्ल वाला होना आदमी एक नक्स और ऐब है. You should be somewhat cheerful. And if you have worries, put in your heart. Put all those worries and things. It is not good for a believer, a man of faith, a man of religion. When you meet people, when people meet you, you should be thrilled. And a person, when people love to come and see you and talk to you and associate with you, roti shakl ke paas kaun aaye? People even don't want to ask you how are you because they know that you will start the whole Majma'ul Ahzam, and nobody has time to listen. This is how Husnul Khuluq. So my brothers, in a nutshell, what you call it, Deen is kindness, love, respect, regard, ethics, manners. That's why in old language, ulama had said that is the translation of hadith, Ba'adab, Ba'murad, and Bi'adab, Bi'murad. People who are mannered and Ba'adab, they're successful. As a student, when you are mannered, well-mannered student, your teacher loves you. Your teacher has respect for you. Your colleagues, your friends, your neighbor. But if you don't have adab, if you are not well-mannered, if you are not of that great character, nobody likes you. About family, this is the hadith. I'm just giving you the headline, and we will have details inshallah next time because we don't have time. This hadith of Prophet is very known one. He says, خيركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهلي. He said, best one among you is the one who is best for his family. Best one among you is the one who is best one for his own family. And then says, وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. And I'm not only saying it, but I have done it and I'm practicing it. I am better than any of you for my family. This is how Prophet was. Character of Prophet, you know. Many times we have excuses for not being kind to our wives or our children because we are very busy. We are tired. We are upset. We are disturbed. We are under stress. Or those sort of things. And anybody who knows the life of Prophet for those 23 years, he knows how much busy he was. We are not any busy if you compare to the Prophet. 23 years of his life, the job which he has accomplished, the tasks which he has taken in his life, the travels, the wars, the treaties, the teachings, the classes, the lectures, that many big family, and not only taking care of his wives and daughter, but even to go and take care of his grandchildren and play with them and take them to play with him and playing with children in the streets of Medina and wherever he was going. It is not that we are busy, it is just we just are not that kind of people. We are not trained with those sort of attributes. Normally I make a point, I say we all read Hadith-e-Qisa. It's great, it's blessing and it is a distinction of our community from other Muslim communities. But why don't we read between the lines? A grandfather who is not just any grandfather, he is Rasulullah and he is the chief of prophets. Most VIP man in the whole universe is tired and is taking nap. Any daughter would let her children to go in that room where head of the family is sleeping? Nobody could dare even to go there because Nana Appa is आराम कर रहे हैं, थके हुए हैं, उधर नहीं जाना, बिल्कुल भूल के भी नहीं जाना. But here when Hassan Mujtaba comes here, Hussaini, they want to go to their grandfather, mother first. That this is something but my father, he is not going to agree with, to just say no to his grandchildren. So even if he is tired and he is taking nap, but grandchildren are going to the grandfather. That's between the line. If you don't have time, then don't create them. Don't bring them. But if you bring them in existence and if you have children, then you should have time and you should have energy to deal with. So, this is not time to go into the details, but khairukum li ahli. The standard is the best one among you is the best one for his family. And Prophet says, I am best one among all you for my family. Recite one second. Our topic, of course, is family ethics. And family, of course, begins with marriage, with husband and wife. And then they have children. And then, of course, it gets extended. What kind of family we want, what kind of children we want, what kind of traditions as family we want, that is, we all have some understanding. One way of looking at that is, when you go back, take a piece of paper, write down what kind of children you want, what kind of sons and what kind of daughters you want, what kind of family you want. Write it, put it on the paper. In the very beginning, when we want to write these sort of things, nothing comes in our mind. You're totally like blank. But think and draw a model. This is if you have to order, if you have to ask anyone to come and mold your family and make something like that, then you give a model. You say, I want this kind of family. These kind of sons and these kind of daughters, and this is the kind of family what I want. Write it on the paper. It will help us next time. You don't write your name if you don't feel comfortable. Next time when I come, I should receive at least some of these papers. What kind of family you want? What kind of sons and daughters, and what kind of husband or wife you like to have? What is your preference? What do you want to see in your wife, or what do you want to see in your husband? What do you want to see in your children? Be specific. Write it down. One easy way to address that, which I will give you in this lesson, is whatever kind of children you want to have, one simple and basic way is that exactly you become that kind of person right now. Hopefully you will have that kind of children down in the future. That's very simple, like common sense. 2 and 2 like 4. You cannot just sit and think Hazrat Jibrilo, Mekailo, Israfil, something like that in your imagination, and then you live in totally a different kind of life. You are a mold, and they are the one who come out from the mold. Whatever is the mold, that is the kind of thing what comes out from that. That is why, my brothers and sisters, Islam emphasizes on training and educating parents first and then children. Children cannot be trained in that high level if parents are not cooperative and if parents are not good examples. Parents are role models. Parents are the mentors. Parents are the teachers, and they are the instructors. Without help taking care of them, you cannot just address the issues of children. And that is why in Surah Tahrim, Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum. Now, you protect yourselves and your ahlu iyal. First you have to protect yourself, and then you have to protect your children. I normally give the example that when you are in aircraft and they are telling you the safety features, they tell you when there will be shortage of oxygen, those, what they call them, the oxygen masks will all fall down. And what do they tell you? That if you have a child sitting next to you, what you need to do? First you need to do this, put this mask on your own nose, and then you help your minor who is sitting next to you. That is exactly what Surah Tahrim is saying. Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. First you help yourself and protect yourself, and then you protect your children. The problem with us is that we say, we are fine. Hamari guzar gayi hai, jaisi bhi guzar gayi. We are okay. But we want to see that our children should be the perfect people. That's illogical. That doesn't happen. That's not the proper way. We have to change. We have to take new challenges. We have to start living with that principle, with that drawing what we have drawn on the paper, and the kind of model which we have said that these are the kind of children what I want. I have to be that kind of father and that kind of mother, and then hopefully if I do my homework properly, and if Allah also honors my hard work and labor, then I will have those kind of children. That is why we are recommending to all these Sunday schools, and we are in a process of doing that at AIM, that the Sunday school which we are planning to organize, the emphasis is that that school will be for the whole family, not only for children. Because no matter how much we teach them and how much we tell them, that is not going to be enough. Those who want to bring their children, they have to sign in also as students, as parents. We will have separate classes for children and for parents simultaneously, but parents have to also go through the same training as their children are going, otherwise we are not ready to waste our time. It is wasted of time to a great extent. Only doing babysitting at schools and giving them one model there, but when they go home they see totally different version and different model. Even they see teachers in one way at a school and in a different way at mall. The same individual is with hijab and with scarf when she is teaching at the Sunday school, but when they see her at Pizza Hut, she is totally different person. This is the kind of Islam what they are going to learn. So it has to be consistent. And otherwise nobody has time to waste. If you are serious, we are there to help you. But you have to be serious. You don't waste your time and don't waste our time. So my brothers and sisters, the issue is, if we want to have family ethics doesn't come from speeches. 1 ounce of example is better than 1 ton of advice. Actions speak louder than words. Our children, they see how we are living and how we are doing things. If you don't want to see your children screaming and yelling, never scream and never yell. If you don't want to see your son or your daughter disrespecting anyone, you don't disrespect anyone in front of your children. If you don't want to see your children getting into backbiting or doing negative comments about anyone, you don't do in front of them. And if you want to bring them to these masajid and these Husainiyas and these centers, stop talking negative about these centers, about ulama, about managements, about officers, about trustees, about executives. But if you continue this talking negative and bad about one another every day in front of your children and then asking your children to come to the center, nobody is going to come and nobody will appreciate. They will say, on one hand you are saying these are bad people. On one hand you are saying these are bad places. On the other hand you are saying going to there is sawab. Meeting bad people is sawab. Going to bad places is sawab. So, be consistent. Don't say these sort of things in front of your children, among your family. Don't bring these negative discussions. So, family starts from the husband and wife, and we finish here with this hadith, the akhlaq, how important that is. In Biharul Anwar we have this hadith, وَقَدْ قِيلَ لَهُ أَنَّ فُلَانَةً تَصُومُ النَّهَارَ وَتَقُومُ اللَّيْلَ وَهِيَ سَيِّئَةُ الْخُلُقِ تُوزِي جِيرَانَهَا بِلِسَانِهَا لَا خَيْرَ فِيهَا هِيَ مِنْ أَهْلِهِ. Prophet was told that there is a lady, she fasts every day and she spends her nights in namaz Isha. He said, and anything else? They said, but tuzi jiranaha bilisaneha, but she is of bad akhlaq, she is kind of very rude, and she bothers her neighbors. But she fasts every day and she reads the nawafil or does nawafil whole night. Prophet said, La khaira fiha. Doesn't have any worth. Hiya min ahlin nar. She belongs to the hellfire. Her nawafil and her fastings are no good. Then another hadith. You know, there is a man known as Sa'd ibn Mu'az. He was a companion of Prophet, a senior companion from Ansar, Sa'd ibn Mu'az. When he died, Prophet participated in his funeral, and I would like to make this point that every funeral, Prophet was not participating personally in every funeral. He was so busy taking care of so many tasks. Only some important funerals or when he had time he would do, otherwise, and you know, funeral is wajib kafai. It is not that everybody has to go and do it. But when Sa'd ibn Mu'az died, he was a leader of almost Ansar in Medina. Prophet personally participated in his funeral. Riwayat, which came from Ahlul Bayt, say that Prophet was working in funeral, reciting dua, istighfar, and when Prophet reached at his grave, Prophet took off his own shirt and he said to people that put this shirt also on Sa'd ibn Mu'az. And then Prophet said, before you put Mu'az in the grave, let me go in the grave and make sure that grave is dug properly, and I will lay down in the grave and make sure that grave is correct and everything, and then you go. So Prophet went himself in the grave, lay down in the grave, inspected the grave, then Prophet came out, then Prophet put the Sa'd ibn Mu'az with his own hands in the grave. When mother of Sa'd ibn Mu'az saw this situation, she said, Hani laka wa abshir bil Jannah. O Sa'd ibn Mu'az, congratulations to you. You are going directly to the Jannah. And Prophet looked at her. How do you know that he is going in Jannah? She said, I have never seen such a lucky funeral that you are personally participating in this funeral from the house up till graveyard. You are asking forgiveness for him. You put your own shirt on him. You went in his grave and lay down in his grave, and he is now in his grave. Can I imagine anybody more lucky than this? And if you have done all this for Sa'd ibn Mu'az, he is forgiven. You led his funeral prayer also. Rasulullah looked at her and then said, you are a mother, but I am sorry to tell you that I did all this, but here we put Sa'd ibn Mu'az and here grave was closed. He had fishare abr, and he was given a strong shock in grave. Everybody says, Ya Rasulullah, why? Sa'd ibn Mu'az, man of that caliber, and you did all this? Prophet said, Naam, innahu kana fi khuluqihi ma ahlihi su. This brother was not gentle and good and kind with his own family. He had this weakness. He was harsh with his wife and with his children, despite all the good things what he had. But he was harsh with his family. And Prophet, and here we can see, we are all waiting for shafa'at and all waiting for that somebody will say something in our benefit, and here we will get direct into the Jannah. And here is a Prophet who participates in the funeral and who puts his own shirt on this Sahabi and lays down in his grave and leads his funeral. But akhlaq with our family is that important, my brothers and sisters. Take care of your husbands and your wives properly. Take care of your children properly. Don't be harsh. Don't be a person that who is unkind. And very effective thing here is, which is the conclusion of this, but this is a separate saying of AmeerMukhtarFaezi in Ghurarul Hikam. He says, La yakun ahluk. This is the last statement as a conclusion what I am saying, and we are not going to talk about this discussion of Hajj tonight because we don't have time. And this is conclusion that Imam Ali looked at people and he said, La yakun ahluk wadu buddhik ashkan nas bika. Situation should be not like that everybody gets your smile and your handshake and your love and your kindness, but your family. Everybody says you are a great man, you respect everybody, you behave with everybody, you are patient with everybody, you are understanding with everybody, but when it comes to your own family, then you are totally a different person. And this happens. We receive these kind of complaints that there are people who are very good outside, with outsiders. They are good at masjid, good at working place, they are good with the outsiders, but when they get in with their wife and with their children, they are totally different people. And Imam says, don't be like that. Actually, your children and your wife have more rights at you. You need to be even better for them, and then be whatever you want to be with other people. Man asa'a ila ahlihi lam yattasil bihi. And the one who damages his own family and is not good with his own family, then nobody should hope anything from him. Because first he has to be good for his own family. So this is again some general guideline because we didn't have time, so I wanted to stress the importance of akhlaq and to tell you how serious the business is. It is serious business. No, but how should we plan? What kind of strategy we should have? What are the family ethics outlined by Prophet and our Imam for us? And how can we enforce them in our everyday life? We will have this discussion inshallah from coming session, and of course we will have the discussion about Hajj and Umrah. Thank you very much for listening. Next time sharp 6 o'clock, and inshallah it will be a better session. Questions? Yeah. So we have about 10 minutes question and answers, and I'd love to take any question if you have.
Could you define ethics in Islam? The word ethics.
Ethics in Islam, the question is, could you define ethics in Islam? Ethics are in a greater scene, in a bigger picture, is your total behavior as individual in all different areas of your life. And these are also as khuluq, the word comes khuluq, these are not yours meaning occasional kind of actions, but these are your deep-rooted habits. These are the kind of things that these are deep-rooted habits which you have, and when you function as the individual with your, for example, in your own personal life or your family life, with your neighbor or whatever, so this is the way of your conduct, how you conduct your life, how you live your life, what are the morals, your attributes, your qualities. They are all, the word in ethics in Islam, the word akhlaq is so wide that in this ayat which I had read from Surah Qalam, the ayat number 4 is Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim, and Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi says that actually Allah is saying Innaka la'ala deenin azim. Yani khuluq is a word that broad that it is equivalent of deen. It's not only a smile of the face. It is not only offering the tea and cookies, for example, and then people can say, oh, he's bada khush akhlaq hai. Normally, our understanding is khush akhlaq, somebody that who has good hospitality. But then, what are his conducts? What are his habits? How he deals with people? How he speaks? How he does business? How he is with his parents, how he is with his family, with his children, with neighbor, with relatives, with his God. That all is part of ethics. That is all part of akhlaq. It is not only that somebody is only hasmukh and then we say he is khush akhlaq. Hasmukhi or hospitality is only one little aspect of akhlaq, but ethics is a whole code of your life. Ji.
Muslim family is mainly male oriented and male dominated.
Ji.
With all the good qualities of ethics we have said about Islam. The Muslim women folks also want to exercise their rights. How do you define their rights?
The good news is that today, when they announced that for Tabarruk, so they asked first sisters to go and eat, and then brothers were given the chance. So we see some change. The question was that our community is male-oriented community, and sisters are not given the full opportunity and their rights in the full sense. You are right, that is because of our third world culture. And if we look back, it's not only Muslims. Originally, for example, in India or Pakistan, we were Hindus. And if we look at the Hindus, they are not better than Muslims. They are doing the same things, but the Muslims are doing over there. And Arabs or Iranis, whatever they were doing before Islam, they are doing it again the same thing. So this is their previous culture, their previous luggage. They became Muslim, they started saying La ilaha illallah, they started doing the right things, but they didn't quit those old habits and the bad habits. And we have to overcome on those habits, and we have to reform our life. And yes, we should make this difference in the Prophet when we see that how he dealt with his daughter, how he dealt with his wives, how he dealt with other sisters in community. That is the example. And then the same situation is with our Aimah alayhimu salatu wassalam. And yes, we should improve and we should change. And as I announced that there are some signs that we are doing better. And hopefully, inshallah, we will stress on that in coming lectures.
Mohammed, during your lecture, you have mentioned about the family ethics, especially while you are discussing and talking to your children among your immediate family. And when we are talking about the age group when they are becoming adults, and they are going to take the responsibilities in their life, and especially in the centers and mosques. And since our centers are based upon their views and their votes, and we have to show them, and we have to guide them, and criticize in a proper way who should they vote and not. Are there any ethics involved there that we should leave them alone or we should guide them properly?
I didn't say that we should not criticize anybody, but I was talking about bad mouthing. I was talking about it's one issue to analyze the situation, to educate our children about what choices are in front of them and how they should make the best choice, and what are the criteria given by Islam, what are the criteria given by our constitution of our organization or whatever, and how should we make our choice, and how should we weigh people on those God-given and Islam-given those criteria. That's one thing. But making fun of people or calling their names, bad names, doing bad mouthing, or spreading hate and hatred, and disrespecting and disregarding our those colleagues and community members or community officers or ulama or whatever, that is not the proper idea, because that is something which will put them off from the centers, from the leadership, from the ulama, and they are looking for excuses to say no and say they are going somewhere else. They don't have time to go and waste. But yes, we should have these table talks, sit on the dining table, in the living rooms, have the discussion, educate your family, educate your children, tell them what is the challenge, and analyze the situation, and then you say, let them say, and then make the family decision. And that is highly appreciated.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Any
That's
last,
it?
last question?
That is last question. Ji.
Oh, the ladies have questions.
I was hoping that you could mention a few words about the you know, in our communities we have this unfortunate situation where we have child abuse, we have spousal abuse, physical abuse, and it's a very big problem, although it's not spoken about very often. I was hoping you could speak a little bit about that, and what is, some people say that some force is justified, and some people believe that no force is justified whatsoever. So I was wondering, what is the Islamic view on force?
That is actually a discussion which we will have in depth and length. As I said in the beginning, that this is the first session, and because we were late, and I didn't just start the discussion, I only stressed on the ethics, and I spoke only the importance of ethics and akhlaq. But the technical discussion, inshallah, we will have all those things included in this family ethics, inshallah, by coming, and we have the 8 lectures divided on the topic. And I promise you that we will have a great deal of that discussion. That's the purpose we have this. Thank you very much.
I would like to again thanks to MASOM and all the audience, and I was not expecting that much crowd over here. So this is really encouraging, and I would like you guys to continue, because this is not a snapshot. This is a continuous thing. So it's going to be every Saturday. As we promised before that we are conducting this at MASOM Trade Farm with conjunction to Imamiya Medicus International. So this is our professional responsibility to really help you to have a better health. Because without a health, and Maulana will agree with me, without a better health, we cannot even perform our religious duty. So I think this is our fundamental, and this is the first right to have all this thing. I think I gave some handout, but they were not enough to everyone have. Apologize again for this. But there are some certain guidelines, and they were actually from the Mayo Clinic. I'll take only a couple minutes. From the Mayo Clinic, from a latest journal, and they really emphasize for healthy lifestyle and also lifestyle modification. They will talk about religiosity or faith. They said this is the basic thing to have a good health. So I take it as, pray and read Quran regularly and apply it in daily life. And I think this is the first step to have a healthy life. And I think we should encourage our family members to read Quran and also have, read the translation too. The second important factor is the diet. Of course, we have to really focus on how much of what we're eating, okay? And we have to have more fibers in our, like 2-3 portions of the fruits and vegetables, and less fried foods and junk food, especially for the kids in the lab all the time, And try to take multivitamins if you can really, and that's going to help too. The third factor is the exercise is very important, because a lot of times there's a misnomer over here, or misconception rather, that people think that if I'm walking on my job, this is my exercise. Well, this is better than the sedentary lifestyle, but that's not the exercise that we're talking about. We're talking about the aerobic exercise, where your heartbeat goes up, you start sweating, and your breathing goes fast. That's the exercise we're talking about. And at least spend like 30 minutes to 40 minutes every other day, and that's what we're talking about, real exercise or meditation. If you think that you can read Quran, that's a meditation for you, go ahead and do that. Or if you want to just sit quietly and think about or whatever, that's also can count as an exercise too, because you also need some mental exercise too. Stress reduction, that's very important in the Western world. We all really stress out. We get home and we really have a really pressure from everywhere. So the best way is to identify stress and avoid stress. And what I feel personally, if you recite dua, translation, that really helps reduce the stress. So that's the best way to really go from there. Then restoration of normal sleep, at least 6 to 8 hours of sound sleep, that's very important. Social support, which is very important. Participate regularly with the family and the community affairs. Try to make new friends, but don't forget your old friends. That's very important, because when you start making them, you forget who they was. So that's a very important thing to look into this. Then we have a habits, of course, the tobacco and the pan frog and everything. One I was talking about, like the Iranian went to Pakistan, but you don't have to go that far. You go to Diwan Avenue, you will see everywhere the pan peak, so you will see what's happening over here too. And then, of course, the last thing but not least is the physical examination by a physician. You have to go at least once a year and make sure if you have some kind of concern that you follow very regularly. Thank you very much, and we want to see you again next Saturday, 6 o'clock. And one more thing, that Dr. Ejaz Wazi are taping, recording these lectures. If anybody interested, please give them to Ejaz Wazi. Thank you again.